Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Jackson, and I'm here with another episode of Digital Ventures. Thank you for joining us. Today, however, I am really excited because I get to speak with Joshua Blanchard. He's the Chief Technical Officer of Black Wallet Group. This is a digital asset firm helping organizations navigate the rapidly evolving world of tokenization and blockchain-based finances. Josh comes from really an enterprise technology background, having held roles at Cisco and Cisco Jasper. But now he's at the forefront of making real-world asset technology, real-world asset tokenization practical and accessible for businesses and communities. He's also an active contributor supporting the Government Blockchain Association through Black Wallet Group. So, Joshua, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you had me on.
You know, it's not often that we get somebody who has their hands under the hood, so to speak, with all the technical aspects of a blockchain. I tell you, I've really enjoyed the work that IDAI has done with Black Wallet Group in launching their stablecoin. So tell me, what sort of drew you to this world from the enterprise technology world?
Well, I was really hesitant to get involved in this space because we see so many people that are in this space to get rich quick as opposed to do something useful. And what changed that for me was talking to our CEO, Christopher Smithmeyer. And what he impressed on me is that he wanted to do useful things in an ethical a manner as possible. And when I know that he wasn't the only person in the blockchain space doing that. There are lots of us out there, but he was the first person I actually talked to personally that had that view, and that made me want to work with him and see what I could do to bring some sanity to the space. Because blockchain is a fantastic technology that gives us a lot of assurances about identity and security, but none of that really helps if the products we build around the blockchain don't give us what we need to guarantee that those things will remain true on the blockchain. Because you can have all the security you want, but if you get phished, for example, you use your security credentials to do exactly what should not have been done. So it's not just the blockchain itself, which is robust and secure when it's implemented well, but it's everything around it that also needs to be better. And in the race to implement blockchain, a lot of companies and individuals have overlooked some of those general security concerns, but the blockchain doesn't patch everything. We just need to make sure the path to the blockchain for the average user protects their security, protects their identity in the same ways. And so I thought, since my background is in general services, I touch a lot of everything, so I have to understand how the pieces are put together. And I thought, well, it seems that there is a need for this in the blockchain space, and I want to make Black Wallet a company that can proudly say that they're doing things correctly. We're not the only company that does things right, but it's a space where there are a lot of companies that are just moving fast and perhaps not giving everything the same care because it's such a fast-moving industry. It's understandable that people are in a hurry, but I don't think that we should leave behind the basics of security and reliability. So I think what we're doing at Black Wallet is giving us a good foundation, and I hope that we continue that as we proceed.
Well, you're right about the whole world seems to be rushing towards the use of digital assets and blockchain. In fact, the tokenized real-world assets just crossed $32 billion of value on chain. That's a 589% jump in about a year. and we talk about security. You know, I have a security background also, and it's hardly ever the technology. It's always the human in the loop that affects or reduces security. So, from where you sit at Black Wallet Group, does this number really surprise you? This jump, or do you feel that it's about right, given what you've been seeing in your career?
Well, I would say I really expected it to happen sooner. When I understood the benefits of the blockchain, once I moved into this space, it became very apparent that it's good for more than just meme coins. And I had to wonder, as secure as this is, when you have an audit trail as good as the blockchain provides, why haven't people been flocking to it? And it's been, I think, uncertainty and partly communication, because I don't think the blockchain space does a really good job at communicating to the average person who is not in the space, throwing meme coins around, what's it actually good for? And I say the blockchain is like cryptographic receipts. That's a powerful idea. And if we have that kind of audit trail, surely people would be rushing to put everything on the blockchain. But we've been focusing on financial markets because that's where the money is made. So I think that ultimately is what drives it, is the people seeing dollar signs in their eyes. But the fact is, the ability to audit, to know where your money went, who has it, is unparalleled. So that blockchain can give us that. I think we're finally catching up. That it's moving fast, I think, speaks to people finally having some confidence. So I think it's late coming from a technical perspective. I would have expected it sooner. But from a social perspective, I think the timing is probably about right. People are finally feeling comfortable with the blockchain thing. When governments are finally addressing the blockchain issue, now people feel like they can move. And now there's a rush.
Well, I mean, business is really jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, not just in the finance industry, but across multiple industries. But even we talk about communications as a problem, because business leaders, they may have heard the word tokenization, 1,000 times, but they still don't know what it means for their business or for their company. And I really like the way you basically use an analogy of using cryptographic receipts to describe what blockchain. But what actually happens when a real world asset gets put on blockchain? How do you link this physical thing to this virtual entity?
Well, essentially, it's the legal process around it that makes the token have any meaning. And I think it becomes confusing because we use terms like token that don't have a specific meaning to the average person. How do they understand what's happening? And so when we say we tokenize something, we're just representing it on the blockchain. And so once the representation is there, you know where every piece of it moved and who has it and when that happened with verifiability. And unless the entire blockchain network is corrupted, which is incredibly difficult to do, and if it weren't so difficult to do, we wouldn't see banks adopting blockchain. So the average business has more security on the blockchain if they represent their things there. But it is just a representation. Okay. The main thing is they have to understand what links that token to their business or the use of the asset by their customers or the people they sell it to. They have to have the legal frameworks in place, the business frameworks in place, but essentially it's just saying if they agree to treat this representation of the blockchain as the receipt for what somebody purchased, then that's really all it takes. Is you have to, as a business or an individual, agree that yes, that receipt came from me, which is not difficult to do, because if you print your name at the top of a receipt you have at a store, well, you accept that receipt, and you have some special numbers there to tell you this is accurate, that not somebody just can go write their own receipt. You have some special information there that makes it provable. Well, the blockchain does that part inherently. So we don't have to rely on mutable records, things that somebody could modify or change or create an imposter version of, a counterfeit version of. So that right there, the fact that you can have these receipts and know that they're exactly what they say they are, is useful. But what makes them powerful is that you choose to recognize them. But as you go about that, there are legal considerations, and that's part of what Black Wallet is here to do. The legal and business aspects of what you're doing, what you're choosing to represent on the blockchain, because you could represent a product, but you could also represent a variety of other things. You could represent slices of your future profits, for example. There are multiple verticals that people may not think about tokenizing that you can represent on the blockchain, but you need to make sure that your business practices and your legal considerations are in place. And so that's the real magic of having somebody help you with tokenization, because tokenizing something is relatively easy, and getting something on the blockchain, not a big deal. Doing that in a way that's not going to create a risk for your business, whether it's a business risk or legal risk, or doing that in a way that doesn't take advantage of all the things you could represent on the blockchain but never thought of, because who had this technology before to imagine all the possibilities? Those things are why it's useful to have somebody walk you through the process. But I think for any business that does so and has somebody help them, it's worthwhile, because the additional opportunities and the legal protection, I don't think that any business is going to legally indemnify choices made, but to have the advice, the legal advice, is tremendous, and a serious advantage in terms of the risk you take.
So let's double click on that for a while, because, legal is just a black box or someone you talk to. It's not something that many people deal with. And what you sounds like you're saying is that Black Wallet helps your clients actually understand and walk through those steps. Could you maybe walk us through what that engagement looks like, from I'm curious about tokenization to, hey, we've got a live functioning digital asset on the blockchain? I mean, what does that sound like? What does that look like?
Well, it can be fairly simple, because putting something on the blockchain is by itself not very difficult. But we start by talking with somebody to understand your business and your business needs, your business opportunities, what you have, where you're going, whether you are dealing with physical assets, virtual assets. Are you looking to raise money for your company this way? Are you looking to just streamline the purchasing process for something that somebody might hold? So getting the facts down and really understanding your business and your goals is really the first step. I think that's something most people would be comfortable with if they're running their business. They know their business. And we have helpful suggestions that for all the blockchain aspects. And from there, we start to ask questions like, do you just need a simple token? Because if all you need to represent are, for example, purchases or anything else that you could represent in a ledger book, whether it's physical goods, virtual goods, or not goods at all, just an agreement.
Like a license or a right.
You need to represent, yes, a ticket, for example. If you sold concert tickets, but that doesn't necessarily have to represent a purchase. But we think about what kind of blockchain suits your needs, because there are multiple. Which blockchain do you want to be on? What type of token do you need? And how are you going to talk to your customers about this? Because we don't feel that people should just be left out in the cold, because we can say, here's your token, but then what do you do with it? Hope you don't make any mistakes. Yeah. So we also talk about security practices. So where you keep your tokens, how you interact with the blockchain, the equivalent of teaching people not to get phished, the blockchain equivalent, because we see with email, we've gotten pretty good at educating people, but it's not been enough. Blockchain helps with that tremendously. It cuts out lots of vectors for attack, but the ones that remain there, like you said, mostly social. And we want to make sure that people have the education and the tools that they need to stay secure with the things that they have put on the blockchain for themselves. Now, what people do after they buy your tokens, assuming that it is simply like a buy token process, that's something that we can help you create an education plan for your customers if you interact with your customers that directly. You may not. I mean, you may want to put something on the blockchain and just have it appear on a crypto exchange. How do you get on an exchange? That's something we can help you understand what exchanges you need to be on and help you through the process of opening that conversation with them and making that happen. And there are a tremendous number of things that a person really has to get their head around. It ends up being simpler than it seems, but there are little worlds out there that you didn't know were out there, and we make sure that those run smoothly for you because we've been there, we've seen it, and we can give you the right advice to make sure that you have a successful launch.
That's pretty interesting. You know, the government recently, the U.S. government, has made some fairly aggressive moves towards adopting this technology, these new financial models. In fact, in January of this year, the Securities and Exchange Commission issued formal statements on tokenized securities. And Standard Chartered, BlackRock, and OKX launched a framework to let institutional investors use tokenized funds as trading collateral. Many see this as the signal that the guardrails are finally catching up with the innovation represented by this technology. How do you feel about it? Is what's still missing from the regulatory standpoint? I know everyone's waiting for action from the Senate on the new Clarity Act, but is that enough?
Well, I don't think it's enough, but I'm remain hopeful that we're going to get to where we need, because uncertainty just absolutely stops business in its tracks. If we know that the government is going to be interested in regulating things to protect people, as it needs to do, the question is, how are they going to do that? Are they going to redefine terms? And the definition of terms is one of the biggest pieces of making sure that you're not setting yourself up to fail or create liabilities on the blockchain. Because if you represent something on the blockchain, suddenly people can trade it freely, assuming that your token is designed to be traded freely, which most are. But most anything could be traded freely, but doesn't become a large market. The used DVD market, you can buy them in any store, but people are not other than selling on eBay. There's not a real speculation market, so there's no question. If you buy something, is it a commodity? Is it a security? Is it a currency? How do you know? And there have been confusions because the blockchain kind of blurs the lines or creates the space for lines to be blurred. And we have to ask, okay, if we make a token, is it a security? Are we going to be regulated as a security? And I don't think the Clarity Act is going to give us everything we need in that regard. The Genius Act has helped, but at the same time, we want them to create the guidelines for us, but we don't want them to create the wrong guidelines. And when they clarify things but leave other things ambiguous, it creates other minefields, and that's why the legal aspect is so important. And the Genius Act, for example, defines what a payment stablecoin is. And that's useful because now banks and financial institutions have a direct guideline for what they need to do if they want to create something that they market as a stablecoin. But what about other people that have tokens that they consider to be stablecoins that don't fit in that framework? Is there now liability because they refer to themselves as stablecoins? is an open question based on the wording of the law. The pen of Congress can create very broad strokes, and we don't want to get swept away by simple mistake.
Right.
And we've definitely had to clarify how we communicate about our product, simply based on wanting to avoid the liability created by some of the new definitions. It's a dance, but it's one that I think that we're coming out in a good position. I think the fact that Congress is addressing this at all is the biggest benefit, because now people in financial institutions can have some confidence that the government is actually caring and not just going to make an example out of somebody when somebody crosses the line based on some ambiguous language. No, the government is interested in defining how we do things, and we would love to have the rules so that we can play by them.
You know, this is amazing. You're really clarifying. You're bringing all of this down to earth. But from a practical point of view, let's say I am a business owner or a government agency, and I'm not talking about somebody in the finance industry that does this and breathes this, lives this every day. Not a bank, not a hedge fund. But if I'm a business owner, what's a practical first step that I should take to start thinking seriously about how tokenization applies to my business, to my world?
Well, I think there are two general categories here. And one is, what can you sell that people would want to buy that you don't have a good avenue for selling? And one example I gave before was if you wanted to represent future profits in the blockchain. You can sell on, we have stock markets for a reason, and that's useful. But there are all kinds of things that you'd like to be able to sell to the general public, make available to qualified buyers, but you don't really have a good market for it. And the blockchain and crypto exchanges become that market. If you can make a token that you agree represents anything in your business, you immediately have a market for it. The other thing is not necessarily something you want to sell, but something you want to protect. Anything in your business that has a ledger that could be modified by somebody, if you want to make sure that a process occurred when it said it occurred, any type of record keeping. One of the big ones for government, not necessarily for business, but I think it's a good way to understand, as if you go into your local government office, figure out who owns a piece of land. Several governments, small and large, are starting to move to blockchain for representing real estate transactions. So right now, you go down to the county courthouse and you ask for the files related to this plot of land to see who owned it and who owned it before that and who owned it before that. And now the blockchain is coming in and making that far easier and far faster to do, with less room for shenanigans. And ultimately, you have to trust somebody. But the blockchain really reduces the blast radius, because if nobody who interacts with the thing can interact with it without having their thumbprint right on it saying exactly what happened, security becomes much, much easier. We're not absent security, because we still have to make sure that people are interacting with the systems they think they're interacting with, and the systems behind it all still have to be secure. But the number of attack vectors that are possible in the blockchain space are much smaller, because when you involve cryptography, there is a level of proof that reality provides. There's just not really any cryptographic systems do occasionally have to catch up, because cryptography marches on and sometimes vulnerabilities are found. But generally speaking, if you're using a modern cryptographic system, you can know that if the math works out, that's what actually happened. And being able to do that without relying on trusting somebody who's in the middle is very, very important. And I think there are a lot of businesses who hear that they can have a system like that, and while I may not know immediately what their security benefits would be, them knowing that they can have the immutable ledger that we talk about, I think a lot of them have ideas and are working on ways they can make that happen. And I would say if not all of that has to be done internally. There are lots of tokenization firms that would be happy to help make sure that you're navigating that space correctly.
You know, the IDAI has been working with Black Wallet Group for quite a few years. And I tell you, we've learned so much, and you guys have guided us like shepherds, you know. So we are happy to be your sheep. So, and you've made this clear. Like I said, you've brought it all down to earth. And others in the audience, I'm sure they want to learn more. What would be the best way to reach out to you or to the Black Wallet Group?
Yes, if you are interested in tokenizing something or just understanding how the blockchain could apply to your business at all, our website is thebwg.com for the Black Wallet Group, thebwg.com, or you could email info@thebwg.com. I'm available on LinkedIn, or I'm also available via email at joshua@thebwg.com. And we're always happy to talk to people and hear how we can help.
So thank you very much. And thank you in the audience for joining us on Digital Ventures, where we turn digital assets into business advantage. Please subscribe, share, and join us for the next episode. Have a great day.